All right, those were your top stories, but let's focus in on one very hot sector during the pandemic, and without a doubt, it's been EdTech. Remember, the pandemic may have ravaged most of the economy, but regular education has been a huge blessing for EduTech. Platform upGrad, the customer base, has more than doubled to 1 million since the lockdown. And in fact, between 2015, its incorporation, to March 2020, around 5 lakh professionals have actually taken the learning and upskilling programs on upGrad's platform. Arjun Mohan, the CEO at India at upGrad, now joins in to talk about that and lots more. So clearly, COVID's been a blessing in disguise for the EdTech sector on the whole. Tell us what it's been like for upGrad. How many users have you added? And I believe you've crossed the 1 million mark by December.
Hi. Yes, it's been a good run so far, as you, gave out the numbers already. Though pandemic had put us all at home doing pretty much nothing initially, and then we all trying to come back to work and trying to do things. Good part has been that India as such has been on a roll in taking up new courses. So that obviously as a market leaders had helped us. What we saw was in all the uncertainty which went around, people started planning for the future, figuring out what they should do by the time things come back into a good shape. And that's where the whole idea of upskilling and looking for what is the next generation skill set, so on and so forth, came in. If you ask me about the trend, you have already told about the increase in number of learners, so on and so forth. So initially, we saw a lot of people coming and trying out online, which is pretty much on a free mode is what they have been figuring out. With the help of a strong product and, of course, a very strong sales and marketing push, we were able to convert a large number of fence sitters into paid customers. And that, I would say, has been the biggest achievement. Actually speaking, people have started looking at online learning as in sync or at the same level as a typical course they will take to upskill. And hence, I would say this is 1 year when online learning has really come onto the forefront and become mainstream.
Yes, indeed, that has been a huge fillip for the overall EdTech sector. Give me a sense as well, Arjun, as to what's been the outlook in terms of the company's run rate, revenue growth. What kind of targets now you're setting for yourself, given that things have really changed within this space?
Yeah. So whether it's a good time or a bad time, we always take aggressive targets. That's how it is. Because it's very simple, right? Finally, if you look at today, EdTech has barely scratched the surface. We have 100 million working professional plus people in college available to us who has to be upskilled. And eventually, which will help in taking the country's GER ratio to the next level. So the market is huge, and hence the targets has to be big if you want to make any impact. So this financial year itself, which will end in March, we are looking at reaching a revenue run rate of 1,200 crores. And we are well set to reach there, thanks to the pandemic and thanks to the fact that we have invested quite a lot in making our product world-class and being a solution when people hardly had options to go out and learn. Next year, that is, the 2021 and the financial year, which will start from April also, we'll continue a very aggressive stance and an aggressive push, because we think that what we are doing is something which is going to change the entire fabric of the country. If we are able to upskill more Indians and in the process help in increasing the gross enrollment ratio, which is at a 20% rate now, to a value which is in tune with developed countries, that's 60%. We think that we will be able to really bring in a huge change in the way this country itself is positioned. As a result of which, we will focus on taking our platform and taking the learning to more and more people. And hence, the targets are always aggressive.
Okay, so I just want to understand from you then, what the sense is when it comes to the overall outlook for the company, how you see yourself now growing, since the lockdown, how many, colleges, universities have you got onto the platform? What has been the outlook in terms of the upskilling, the reskilling numbers, and the kind of, outlook that you have in terms of these universities that you're planning to add as well?
Yeah, so that's a very important point you touched upon. So earlier, before the pandemic, though we used to work with universities, it was more on a B2C scale. We had a lot of them, like the IIIT Bangalore, the IIT Madras, some international universities like Liverpool, John Moore, LBS, Deakin, etc. on the platform. We almost doubled in terms of number of our partnerships ever since the pandemic started, especially in terms of international universities. We are seeing a huge surge in interest from countries like US. We are expecting our partnerships with international universities to go up by approximately 3x in this year, 2021. We also increased our footprint on the offline space. I mean, by tying up with universities offline also. So what had happened was when the pandemic struck, a lot of universities were unclear what to do next. How do they deliver the learning process? And that's the time when we felt that one way we can also help these partner universities is by opening up our award-winning learning system to them. So that's one thing which we did during the pandemic. We made our learning system which free to a lot of universities. We had approximately 100 universities coming on board and using our learning management system currently, touching around 100,000 students. On the upGrad's scale of it, as you rightly mentioned, we have crossed 1 million plus learners already, and that pace is continuing to grow faster and faster.
Okay, that sounds fairly interesting. What's the outlook when it comes on, interest that you're getting from investors? Any outlook when it comes to funding that's been lined up, planned?
So Edtech is currently pretty hot. So being a company which is market leader in the higher education online space, plus having a great unit economics, you can imagine there will be a lot of investor interest. We are trying to close a few partners. What we are really looking out is we feel that investors coming in as strategic partners who can help us in this journey which we are looking at, both in India and internationally. We think that these people will add a lot of value, and that's what we are looking from getting the investors on board. I cannot reveal more than that here, so time will tell what will happen on this.
Okay, fair enough. Won't really be probing then on that front. But Arjun, let's also talk about some of the M&As, what's been planned for the company. You guys are very big on a lot of collaborations and M&As. So what's in store and what have been some of the recent ones?
Yes. So in upGrad, what we have been trying to do is to create the full stack experience for our learners. And one of the things which is very important when it comes to buying an online education platform, or simply put, a learning platform, is to be outcome oriented. If you are not going to provide the learners with the outcome which they are looking at, and which in most cases is a transition to a new job or a promotion or a promotion in most cases, then you are not really doing 100% of your work. And that's the reason why the whole the acquisition of Recruit happens, which is a recruitment agency in its own. What we are trying to do is to provide that placement opportunity to our learners to ensure that the experience is full stack. There are more areas of Edtech, of higher education Edtech, which we are very seriously looking at, like We have a small business wherein we work with offline institute, offline colleges and private universities and provide services to them. That's one interesting area which we are really looking at an acquisition for. You already know about the Gate Academy acquisition which went through. So that is our foray into the test prep market. There also the logic is that, especially with the coming of the degrees, thanks to the new education policy, a lot of our students are also looking at test prep solutions which they can take alongside these degrees, and hence the whole idea of full stack services comes in there also. So that's the idea. It's about providing all the services at a top quality for students post K-12 from one single provider, which is upGrad. So that's been the logic, and that's the reason why you're seeing a lot of acquisitions.
Right. There have also been some very interesting hiring trends that have been seen. Can you just walk us through that? Because I understand about 1,200 upGrad graduates have been hired by 450 companies, and the average increment is 46 to 55%.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned earlier also, outcomes or transitions or placement services is something which we always have been stressing on, because we feel that education in India, especially upskilling, is a lot about your life transformation. People expect that at the end of this upskilling, I'll get a better job. And hence, placements and learning, especially when it comes to higher ed, has always gone hand in hand in India. So when, the concept of upGrad, hence, is just not about learning. It is also about ensuring that you are made employable. And we also need to do the connection of a learner who have completed education to the companies. So we have a large placement team which continuously reaches out to companies, sources opportunities, connect it or sync it up with the resumes of our learners, and then give them opportunities. So at upGrad, we believe that if you are able to get a person ready for the industry, for the corporate, then you have done your work, which means that a lot of our curriculum design is also based on input from this corporate, on what is the skill set they are looking at. This is also one reason why we have a large focus on soft skills. We have over a period realized that for a student to get placed into a company, his soft skills are as equally important that like the hard skill we provide through our courses. And hence we have a career services team which help them work on their resumes, the way they face interviews, a lot of things like that. Thanks to all this, in spite of the pandemic, we have been fairly successful in helping most of our learners find an opportunity. And that's what the number you just spoke about. We have been doing it. But one part I just want to mention here is that, yes, we are doing a lot of things to give them the opportunities. But finally, all this transition is testimony to how good that learner is, how much of effort that person has put in through the course while he or she is doing it from upGrad. So we have been lucky in motivating that person, hand-holding that person through that entire courseware, which ended up giving him the great transition he or she was looking at.
Okay, and give us an outlook in terms of where we can see the company grow over the next few years. What exactly is your game plan? There is quite a bit of competition. While of course the sector is very hot right now, what's the plan to retain your market share and to deal with the competition that you're facing?
Yeah. So when the market is hot, there will be competition. I see this, at the stage we are at for Edtech in India, where we are barely scratching the surface. I feel that all the players are, a good number of strong players is actually going to help each other or help the sector as a whole. Because when there are more players, there will be innovation, there will be great products. everyone will promote the idea of edtech, and hence edtech as a sector grows. So I'm not too worried about competition. I see everything as collaboration currently. So that's not something we should be bothered about next few years. There is enough and more room for all the people who are currently in edtech to grow. All that is required, or all that upGrad at least is trying to do, is to keep the consumer or our learner as the center of our ecosystem. We are constantly trying to understand what is a new age working professional or a learner wanting. What is the outcome? Why is he really looking at upskilling? And we have been continuously trying to create products and services which will satisfy this particular person. So that's how the essence is, and I think that doesn't go out of trend ever, and hence our prospect for the future, or the number we are looking at for next few years, is also very ambitious. We are looking at continuing our 3-digit growth continuously for next 3 or 4 years. We are sure that the market is so big that there is room for that kind of a growth.
Okay, so just walk us through what the strategy is in place then in order to achieve this kind of very ambitious growth target that the company is talking about. Will there be more M&As? Will there be more fundraising? Will there be more cost structuring? How will the company go about it?
Yeah, so one aspect is, which I already touched upon. We are trying to be that full stack model, wherein we will try to be a powerhouse where all the services of quality lifelong learning will be provided to a learner post K-12. And all the acquisitions, M&A, whatever we are talking about, what is done so far, what is planned in the future, will be aligned to that. How can we provide the services which our learners are looking for? Second aspect, of course, we think that we are fortunately in a country where we have the advantage of a great cost structure plus access to extremely high caliber resources. So if you are talking about the education ecosystem today, we have some of the best teachers who can teach people across the world. One, because of their pedigree, and number two, because of their knowledge in English. Number two, we also have access to great technology professionals who are developing great technology solutions today. Hence, we feel that upGrad is in a very good place to go and capture markets in multiple international locations. So that's another direction which we are working on. We have hired a leader in the UK and Middle East market. We are looking at having a leader in the APAC market. Soon there will be a lot of focus coming in the North America market. So what we are really looking at is, along with growing in India by looking at satisfying what our learner in India wants to achieve, we will also be parallelly working on developing these markets. So this is going to be our two-pronged strategy. Everything else will fall around it.
We wish you all the very best. Thanks much for taking time out and joining in with that outlook on the company, the business, as well as the EdTech sector.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the time.
All right, let's slip into a quick break. And as we do that, 2020 has certainly been a tough year, but we saw 11 unicorns emerge from India. And in fact, many are planning their IPOs in 2021. So what's the next big idea in the Indian startup ecosystem? And where does India stand within the global sphere? Listen into this exclusive conversation we had with Sequoia Capital's MD, Rajan Anandan, and Facebook India head, Ajit Mohan.
The next big idea is called India. I think what we're seeing, Nayantara, is innovation across sectors. So yeah, it really is. It's called India. What I mean by that is across many segments, right? It's building for India. It's building for the world. I don't think it's isolated to any one thing, right? If you had asked me 2016, yes, it was about payments. It was triggered by UPI. You could say 2018, maybe it was about Edtech, 2018, 19. But I think going forward, if you look at the next decade, I don't think it's going to be, focused only on one or two sectors, Nayantara, right? We've talked about this. Look, in Edtech, we're going to see, many, many large companies getting built out, right? In FinTech, we already have many large companies. We're going to see that number sort of grow very rapidly, right? SaaS, we have 6 SaaS unicorns. That number is going to triple, very, very quickly here. So I do think across many different sectors, we're going to see accelerated innovation. And I think that's very, very special, right? Where it's no longer about, only one or two sectors, right? See, what you want for a very healthy startup ecosystem, that is an ecosystem that is firing on many cylinders, right? Anytime you have only one or two cylinders, you're at risk, right? And now what you're seeing, Nayantara, is, as you know, like even in e-commerce, right, where you've had, let's say, Flipkart, you've had Amazon, now as you said, Nykaa, you've had a few vertical players. Now you have a company like a Meesho, right, which is, sort of leading the wave, the social commerce wave, right, or companies like Bulbul and others, some of, which are really leading sort of the new wave. So in some of these established spaces, you're seeing sort of the birth of a new generation of companies. And then in other spaces, right, you're seeing sort of the first generation of bigger companies that are going to get built out.
I think the answer is yes to that question. And I think it's framed by a couple of big things that are happening. And we have spoken about it, but I think even since our last conversation in September, it's very clear that some of the big shifts are here to stay. One is the very clear, meaningful shift from offline to online. People got a taste of what it means to experience a more digital way of living. Consumers did, people across the country did, but companies did as well. And they liked what they saw. So there's clearly a big shift happening where people are getting comfortable with using different forms of digital. I think the second part is, in many ways, like in many other crises in the last 15, 20, 30 years, this has also been a moment for entrepreneurs to start up and say, we're going to start building for what comes next, for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And we've